Welcome to Two Guys, Two Questions, a chaotic, unscripted podcast.
Yeah, surprise questions with no prep.
I'm Ryan Keaton, a real estate guy who's happiest with an ocean view.
And I'm Jarrod Greer, a retro toy fanatic / loather who may or may not have a Batman cape within arm's reach right now.
You definitely do.
You don't know that.
From alligators to vibrators, superheroes to existential crisis, we cover it all.
Plus, every month we'll bring in a mystery guest and try to keep things extra unpredictable.
So if you like spontaneous conversations, French bulldogs stealing the show, and two guys who think they're funnier than they probably are, then you're in the right place.
Yep. Well, enough of this. Let's do this. Two Guys, Two Questions starts now. Okay. So, do you ever go to rename one file and then find that you've accidentally highlighted every file on your desktop and you just renamed every file on your fucking desktop the same thing?
I have never done that. I feel like that would probably put my world in a tailspin.
Brother, it happened to me today. And I renamed about 70 files the same thing with a different number after them. And I had to sit here for a long, long time and open every file.
Every single one of them and then
rename it again. Because there's no, you'd think there'd be a undo whatever the fuck I just did button, but for that there's not. Or if there is, didn't find it. I'm not computer savvy enough to know how to do it if there is. The other thing is 3 times I've built a big spreadsheet of, well, this is dumb, but which snake I was going to breed to which snake this fall.
Yeah.
And I have not saved it 3 different fucking times.
After you built it?
After I built it.
I thought it auto-saves.
It does unless you close it and say, I don't need this. But I'm really bad to get like 25 fucking windows open and then just, yeah. No. Yeah, so this spreadsheet is the bane of my existence right now, and I just got really mad a minute ago. And it's just been a bad computer day all the way around for me. I wasn't sure. There's one day that we can't. There's one week we're not supposed to record, or we're not recording, and I never can remember when the fuck that is. You don't have to tell me now, but I never can remember when the fuck that is. So every week I'm like, is this the week? Is this the week? No, it's
coming up in a couple weeks.
Yeah. Anyway, so here we are. All that said, just to say, here we are.
Just got through showing some proper. Really cool dude that's moving here from out of state. Kind of called me in a panic because he drove up here from Asheville, North Carolina, I believe it was, so about 5 hours.
Okay.
And gets about 3 hours into the trip, and the agent that he had the appointments with said, "Hey, sorry, I'm already booked today." So he was like, "You knew I was coming last night, and I told you I'd confirm in the morning." So he desperately gets online, checks, and goes, "Okay, I'm going to give this Ryan a call." And
so was it your listing?
He basically just went on searched out.
I love that you got the lead, but I think I would have just went to the listing agent at that point.
Well, I think that's where he started, was with the listing agent, and then he was going to look at a few other properties, and then the agent let him down. Yeah. And I scrambled, got it all put together, got him out there, but it ended up being just a really cool dude. We had some really cool conversations. I mean, he was a black male that was moving up here, and we just hit it off, and we ended up down some paths you don't typically conversations. I mean, we talked about some racial stuff, we talked about different things, but it was just, it's going to be a cool dude. He's going to be somebody I'm kind of looking forward to helping him get settled here, because he's somebody I think I'd probably go out and have a beer with. Cool. Just a good dude. And
sell him a house.
Yeah, we're going to be writing an offer after we get finished up here, giving him time to get back. So, but
works out.
So yeah, so it's been pretty good. The house is finally getting close to being finished over there. That Tristan's going to be moving into. So it's been a pretty productive week. Was down last weekend taking care of the grandkid, which was pretty cool. We had just me, her, and Dixie for the weekend, so that was fun. Celebrated the birthday, which she thought was really cool.
Awesome.
How about yourself, man? What's besides having a room full of snakes that you're settling up for? Obviously, another
I have a
convention.
My reptile show Kentucky Reptile Expo, www.KentuckyReptileExpo.com. Cheap plug, is this weekend. And so I usually take a lot of stuff to that. Just, I'm always going to try to take the cool shit I got to my own show. But I went to a show in, where in the fuck were we? Where'd we go? Oh, my God. Bowling Green, Kentucky. I went to a show in Bowling Green, Kentucky this past weekend. And it was pretty slow, but I sold 6 or 7 snakes. And I got to hang out with a dude I hadn't seen in about 20 years. I saw him, spent a whole bunch of money buying snakes off him that I'd been wanting. And then right before I left, the guy next to me said, hey, why don't you buy all my snakes? I said, I don't really want them. He said, I'll make them cheap enough. And I'm a sucker for a deal. So I came home with 100 more snakes, 73 or 4, actually. But have you, between Fort Wayne, I have a snake hoarding problem,
and this trip,
I'm 200 plus snakes over the last 2 weekends.
And are you in the hole, or have you made?
Oh yeah, by miles. Miles and miles in the hole. It's not
what
even
happened to feed the fat bird?
No, we're just here having fun, Ryan.
It was just about a week ago, the feed the fat kid.
Yeah, I do believe that. Although I gotta say, as a kid or as a young man, I desperately wanted the snake thing to work for me. I wanted to be able to keep and breed snakes and sell snakes at shows, and I would do a show every weekend somewhere. And it was just a tragedy if I didn't make enough money at that show to get through the week or to the next hustle or to the next whatever. It was always so crushing to me if it wasn't a good weekend, because it meant not only did the money not make sense, but it felt like it invalidated what I was doing or what I was trying to do. Now it's so fucking cool because I just go to shows and I don't give a shit if I sell anything or not. I'm just there for fun. I'm just there looking at cool shit, and I'm enjoying going to shows and talking to people and seeing people I haven't seen in a long time. And I used to be, even when I couldn't really afford it, I was always trying to get people to make me, big bulk deals on stuff. And I always wanted to, fake it till you make it kind of thing. But people still come to me with deals all the time, and I have a hard time turning them down. I really do. So I've got to where now I say, okay, this is just a hobby. The snake thing, I'm just having fun doing the snake thing. But, okay, so I spent all day Monday putting snakes away after the show. I had a kid come over the weekend and clean all the adult snakes that I've got. And he's cleaning cages for me, so that's working out great. But Monday I spent all day putting stuff back away, all that. Then I went to work on Tuesday. I went to the warehouse and worked on Tuesday. And then Wednesday, I spent all day here feeding snakes. And then Thursday, I said, well, I'm going to go to work. But I got up this morning and realized I have to go out. I have to leave early in the morning. So I've been here all day packing snakes for this weekend. So I literally got to go do my real job one day this week.
Yeah.
And I talked to a buddy of mine who sent me pictures. He works at the post office. I won't rat you out who you are, but he works at the post office, and he sent me pictures. He was putting together a snake cage at work at the post office, and he said, it's a pretty good job. And I typed out the text, man, I'd like to have your job. And then I deleted it all because I thought, I didn't go to work but one day this week. So I'll take what I do.
Yeah.
But so my hobby, again, and this is a recurring theme in my life, I've let my hobby now turn into 3 days a fucking week worth of work. And
to push back on that a little bit, right? Because you were having fucking fun feeding the snakes.
Yeah.
You were having fun putting the snakes into different cages, putting them back up. You were playing, and to me that you may want to downplay that or go, oh, well, that got in the way. But in reality, the cool thing to me that you playing with those snakes was probably about the equivalent in your head and the enjoyment of what I would get us sitting at the beach. And you got to do that while your other businesses were doing what they needed to do.
Supposed to do. Yeah.
And if push came to shove and you were needed, you could have put the snakes on the back burner for, a couple of hours to go fix whatever theoretical fire that would have happened. So I see that as a positive thing. It is your hobby taking some of your time, but It's probably one of the funner weeks you've had in a while, right?
Yeah. I'll tell you what. One of the guys, another guy in the reptile business, who's he's pretty high up my respected people list in the reptile business, as far as an entrepreneur and a kind of a numbers and a business guy. He's made the reptile business make sense. Is a guy that owns a place in Evansville called Metazotics. Shout out Clint. Anyway, Clint is he has a podcast and he's really good at marketing things. But the one story I tell all this for is because back in the day when Clint was a kid, and I was a kid too, Clint's business card said, "Man, I love this stuff." That was, I think it said Clint's Exotics or whatever the hell that thing was, but then under it said, "Man, I love this stuff." And I thought, well, that's kind of indicative of the whole thing. It's like you can make a business out of it, but it's not nearly as fun once it becomes the pressure of,
yeah.
Like this wouldn't be nearly as fun for me if I had to go somewhere and get rid of 90 snakes this weekend. That would suck. But it's like, well, if I do, I do. If I don't, I don't.
Yeah.
And anyway, it is what it is. So we're here packing, and my kid's out there trying to teach him to put snakes away. He's a little bit of a pansy ass. I guess you saw that.
Yeah, let me clarify for the listeners. By pansy ass, you meant he didn't want to get bit by a snake. Yeah. I find that as a logical thought process.
I gave him 7 deli cups that were marked with what snakes goes in them. And I said, "Here, put the snakes in those cups." And I left him unattended, and I came back, and he said, "Well, I got 5 out of 7 because the other 2 are little bitches." And and again, I'm here for Jackson. I'm Team Jackson because the little fuckers were pouncing up and biting at him. Yeah. So what you have to understand, though, and this is impossible to wrap your head around when you're I guess have a fear or at least a healthy respect for something that's way smaller than you, is you have to remember that it's way fucking smaller than me. It can't. It's a non-venomous snake. It's way smaller than me. It can't possibly fucking hurt me. I'm a great big monster compared to that. I'm Godzilla.
But I don't like getting bit by needles. I don't like getting poked with needles, and that's essentially
not even big enough to break the skin. You know, it's like whatever. Anyway,
yep.
All right, you got a question? Because I don't, so I got to think of one on the fly.
Good common theme.
One will come up, I promise.
So, I mean, one of the things that I was thinking about was, what is something that you feel like people believe about you that's not true?
Okay, well, this ties right into this conversation. Growing up in a small town, Carter County, I got my first snake when I was, I think, for my 15th birthday. And by the time I was 16 or 17 years old, I was stupid. Fuck, I probably always had a snake with me or you know, I had snakes all over the place, a bunch at home. And then I guess that was 96, I guess I'd have been 20 or 21. I got bit by a venomous snake because from 18 to 21, I was keeping a lot of venomous snakes. And anyway, I got bit by a venomous snake, and it was like small town fucking CNN, you know, whatever.
Yep.
Everybody in our county knew that I got snake bit. So for years, I became, anywhere I went, if I introduced myself to somebody, they say, "Oh, you're that snake guy," or, you know, or whatever. And I think the misconception with that was that I just, you know, always had a fucking snake in my back pocket or whatever. And still today, at damn near 50 years old, if I go to Carter County and I go in a convenience store or something, I run into somebody, or if I run into somebody I know and they're introducing me to somebody, they'll say, "Hey, it's the guy that has the snakes and stuff," you know. And I'm like, "Fuck, that's not. I'm not sure that's the best way in the world for me to be known or remembered."
That's going to be on your little epitaph.
Yeah. Or you're that guy that got bit by that snake that time.
Yeah.
That's a lot of it. So that's one thing that ties into our previous conversation. But the other thing that, that people think they know about me that they really don't. There's so many, probably. All my employees think that I'm just filthy fucking rich. Like they think I'm like wiping my ass with fucking. They think I'm Uncle Scrooge diving into fucking thing or whatever.
Yeah,
and not all my employees, but some of my employees do, and they think that we're just made of fucking money, and that could not be further from the truth. Sometimes when you have to sit and go, fuck, it's a payroll week and the rent, rent on this building's due or fucking payments due on this. That is still not the truth. I mean, we do okay, and we have a lot of fun doing it. But, man, it doesn't matter what level you're on. There's still times where cash flow rears its ugly head, I guess. You know, doesn't matter if you're moving $100 in and out of your checking account a week or $100,000 in and out of your checking account a day. There's still always times that doesn't make sense. I don't know. There's probably a ton of things that people think they know about me. I think a lot of people think that I just love being in crowds of people and things because I have events. I'm in the event management
that
business.
You want to be.
They think, but I'm like the most introverted person ever at an event. Even I want to go hide in the fucking corner.
Let everybody else handle it.
At my own events, yeah. I don't know, man. There's so many. I feel like there are very few people on the planet that really get much insight into, and this is certainly not a brag. I think it's a put down. There are very few people that probably know what I really think about most of anything, or how I really function as anything. It's a pretty fucking small circle of people that I feel like A, know me, or B, have my back pretty much unconditionally. There are a few, you and I have talked about that at length. I still have a few guys from high school that I talk to a lot, but I think even they have huge misconceptions about my life or whatever. I don't know. I sometimes I don't even know who the fuck I am. That's weird, but I think that's just being a 50-year-old dude. I think, I'm 49. Thank you. That's a misconception that I'm actually 50. No, I'm 49.
I think a lot of times that it's interesting because it really boils down to what capacity do they maybe know you in.
Yeah, that's it.
Because it's funny because there's been a couple different people that have mentioned to Dixie or whatever, or outside of scope that's got back to me that, that are somewhat in the real estate world. And they're like, God, Ron's really uptight. Does he ever let loose? And she was like, do you know him?
Yeah. That's the other thing. A lot of people do think I'm an asshole. And maybe that's not a misconception. I don't know. But I think a lot of times my introvertedness and my shyness or my awkwardness comes through as being an asshole.
Well, I think for me, that's the same way that whenever it comes to that, because I'm dealing with people's lives and a lot of money, that deserves respect and seriousness. And now, not to say we can't have a little fun and, and banter back and forth, but for the most part, if we're talking about a law or we're talking about something to that effect, you're going to get my attention and I'm going to handle it appropriately. But I find that interesting because it depends on the environment. And then, I'm sure there's probably some people that only know me in certain situations and think, well, God, he's just, is that guy ever serious about anything?
Yeah. I guess I never really thought about it like that, but so many people get such a different glimpse into your life, depending on whether they're the guy that you sit next to at the bar and drink a beer now and then, and they might think you're a drunk and a fuck up, or whether they're a client or whether they're, a peer or whatever. I guess I have a weird thing, and it shows its head at the convention every year, because for the convention every year, we use hundreds of volunteer helpers. And early on, I had trouble recruiting people, so I recruited people to help from my daily life. But there became these little teams that organized themselves based on how they knew me. Because I had vendors from the Reptile show, okay? They all knew each other, and they knew me. So they became pretty much who handles the line control on the celebrity floor. And then I have my high school friends that all came. Well, they don't know the Reptile people, but they all know each other, so they became a little team.
So it became a bunch of cliques.
Yeah, it's very cliquey depending on how they know me. And lots of them, especially people that have known me for a long time, even if they're not super active in my life today, they feel like they're more important than somebody that maybe just works at the store now. Because I've known Jarrod for 30 years.
I'm more important than you. You only got 5.
And they use it as a little bit of a status thing at the con.
It becomes a little bit of a weapon.
Yeah, it's like, well, I'll go talk to Jarrod about that, or whatever. What's so funny is I don't do anything there. I'm fucking Colonel Sanders. Katrina runs the whole damn thing. People come to me with problems. I'm like, fuck, I don't know what to do.
She's the one to be friends with. Yeah, she's the one to get shit done.
Yeah, go be friends with her. I just want to drink a bourbon and fucking stand around and look important. I tell the news all the time when they'll ask me like what my title is or whatever. I'll say I'm the promoter. Katrina does all the work. I'm just here to take the credit.
I think you do a pretty good job of not being seen, because I think that I have been down there maybe 3 years, 3 different times. Yeah. And I think I could probably say I spent 10 minutes in 3 years, because you were gone. You were doing what you could do, or you were hiding in the appropriate spots to let people take care of what they needed to.
It was the best thing ever. When for a few years during the construction phase, we used the Rep Arena floor for the con, and I would go sit in, I think it was section 21. Anyway, and that became code for like my office or whatever, was section 21. But that's where the soft serve ice cream was. So we would go sit in section 21, and I would sit there eating a fucking soft serve ice cream with a radio, and I could see the whole floor. So if there were crowd control problems or whatever, I could see it from the floor, and I'd say, hey, you might want to go check the northeast corner. There seems to be a little traffic jam there. Lick. And they all just thought I was so on top of things or whatever, but I'm literally just sitting there fucking eating ice cream. So that became code for a place to hide, was section 21 or whatever the fuck it was. But anyway, it was just a couple years of that, and now I don't have soft serve ice cream anymore because they won't let me have the damned arena down there. But anyway, I digress. Fuck, man, I can't think of anything else, although there are 100 things people... Was that the real question, by the way?
Yeah, because I'm just interested, because, okay. I mean, because like I said, I think about that often, because like I said, I've things have gotten back to me, and that's always one of them, is people think that I'm uptight, or does that Ron ever relax? Is there anything like that? And it just... I get it from the people that it's coming from, but I'm just like, you obviously have no clue who I am, because I just, I be uptight? Yes.
But do you think that is simply a function of being a 50-year-old dude who has, you're not out there trying, at least I'm not, I assume you're not. You're not out there trying to make new best buddies every day or whatever. You're just living your life as it comes at you. And
I'm not going to be rude or mean to anybody, but I don't feel like, I've kind of gotten past the point where I feel like I need to impress you.
Yeah, so people have already built who you are in their mind, and it probably came from some 15-minute interaction they've had with you over the last 30 years that may or may not have had anything to do with who you actually are.
Yeah.
That's kind of at least what I'm thinking. And I think most dudes our age would have that same kind of experience. I might be wrong. Fuck, I don't know. I got a few friends in our age group that are just still super outgoing, and I'm going to go out of my way to call and check on I got my list of 40 friends, and I'm going to go out of my way to be sure I connect with those 40 people once a month or whatever.
Yeah.
And like, I had a buddy, we just called him Big Phil, but anyway, he's gone now. But man, at his funeral, everybody in my friend group kind of got together, and as we were sharing stories or whatever, we realized Phil called all of us on a schedule. Like some of us every day. Like one of my buddies, Chris, said he called him every morning on his way to work. Phil would call him and simply say, "You're not going to be late today, are you?" Or whatever. He would call me most Friday nights or at least once over most of the weekends. And usually he had a stupid trivia question for me, or, or it was, hey, I got $5,000. I need to figure out what I can do to turn it into 8 or whatever. He would either call me for business advice or with a stupid trivia question like, hey, is New York bigger than Hawaii? Or whatever, But that was just Phil's way of
keeping in contact.
And
not making it weird.
Yeah, and not making it weird. But I knew when I saw the phone ring and it said Big Phil, I knew I was going to get a stupid trivia question, or I was going to,
Yeah.
But we all came to know, or 10 or 12 of us that all came to know, that he did the same thing with all of us to some degree. So it was super important to Phil that we all stayed in touch.
Yeah.
Or that, it was just a thing that we all did. And, God, I miss that dude. But we had so many fucking stories and when Phil died, we all went out to Buddy Chris's house and sat around his garage that night. And kind of the thing that we did that we felt like would honor Phil a little bit was we all went out there and just sat around and told stories.
Yeah.
We spent 6 hours out there in Chris's garage just telling.
And I tell Dixie that's what I want mine to be, is I don't want a funeral.
Yeah.
I want just have a celebration, get some alcohol, non-alcohol, whatever in the hell everybody wants, and just get together and tell good, bad, and indifferent stories and make each other laugh. And that would make me happy.
Fuck yeah.
Everybody getting together.
That's all we can ever hope for.
Somehow, some way, make themselves feel a little bit better about losing somebody that they cared about.
Yeah. That was probably one of the best, I'm going to say, grieving experiences I've been through with any of my close friends or whatever.
Yeah.
That was the best way we felt like to honor him. And man, it was a good time. And we all said, okay, all these stories, Phil's gone, statute of limitations is passed on all this. Because Phil was like, among our crew, he was kind of the keeper of the secrets. He was kind of the one that knew a lot of shit. And man, he was good at keeping a secret, because you'd be like, what do you mean? Where the fuck you been for 6 hours? But somebody would always know, but you didn't know exactly what happened. So it was fun, because I would tell a story and then somebody else in the circle would say, well, let me tell you what you don't know. I was with Phil. This is what happened.
So you got all the gaps filled in.
You got all the gaps filled in about what happened. And it was a really good fucking time.
Everybody needs a Phil.
Yeah, no shit, man. Everybody needs a friend like that. Before I get to my question, I want to touch on this again, because we got to touch on it on the episode that I live streamed for 10 minutes. Did you read the shit I sent you today about my uncle? Or my great uncle? That
was actually on my list. We were 100% getting to what I like to call the ballad of.
Yeah. Okay. So I went down this rabbit hole.
What was his name again?
His name was Billy Jack Greer.
So what I have in my notes is the Ballad of Billy Jack.
Yeah. He was my great uncle. But I got down a rabbit hole this morning because I have a friend who is in the county clerk's office in the county where Billy Jack was killed, and he was murdered, by the way.
I did not know that.
He
but
ultimately was murdered in 1968 at 29 years old. He was shot in the head. Anyway, but my buddy works in that courthouse, and me and my dad were talking about it for some fucking reason the other day. And my buddy said, hey, I bet I can get those court documents. Would you like to see it? And I said, fuck yes, I'd like 100%. To see them, 100%. Because the guy that murdered him got off. Like, he admitted, I shot the motherfucker. But he didn't say why. I don't know why, how, or whatever. But he didn't serve any jail time, so he had to have at least said he came at me with a knife or something, you know. But I want to know why. And I don't give a shit. For reals, but my curiosity is about to kill me on the thing.
I'm invested in Billy Jack as well.
Yeah. So anyway, he called me this morning. He said, hey, I need to know the date he died so I can look up the records. And I don't know. So I go to newspapers.com, which I think we've talked about this. I subscribe to, because one time 3 years ago I subscribed to it, and then I've never canceled it. And this is probably the first time I've ever went back to it. But now, shout out to newspapers.com, was there for me today when I needed it. So I went there and I found the article where he was killed, and I got the date and all that shit. But while I was there, it brought up a bunch of the articles about him admitting to the murder
That was fascinating.
And all that. Yeah. And so anyway, I saved a bunch of them in chronological order, and it makes a good read because it starts with like the murder happened. And man, I don't know if you know this or knew this, but in 1962, when there's a murder of 2 people in their car, they just opened the car door, snapped a fucking picture, and put it on the front page of the newspaper.
Yeah. That one person slumped over.
Fucking crazy. Yeah. I'll send that to the producers of this thing. Maybe they can put it in there. But just full on picture, dead guy slumped over in the car. So that's the first step. Then the next page is like, well, we don't know who killed him. The hunt is on. The manhunt's on. And then the next story is like, Billy Jack is in jail in Missouri for robbing a laundromat or some shit. Yep. I don't know. And he admits to it and says, yeah, please have him extradite me or whatever, you know. So Kentucky state cops go there, interview him, and even though they're skeptical, they bring his ass back to Kentucky, where they ultimately say he was in jail. He couldn't have killed those people. And he said, oh, no, I was out on bond, I promise. And they said, no, we got this guy that says he was in jail with you that night.
Yeah.
So eventually...
they do the lie detector.
He gets back to Kentucky. They do a lie detector. They prove it wasn't him. And then the last article, if you got all the way to the end, was they actually found the guy that did it.
Yep.
I haven't got to the end of his trial to find out why he did it. But it was a double homicide of a 20-some-year-old dude and his 17-year-old bride.
Yeah.
Parked on Lover's Lane at the water tower
secretly,
on Skyline Drive. Yeah.
Secret wife.
Yeah,
it was salacious.
It's a good fucking story. Really is. I got down that rabbit hole. I was supposed to be working this morning, packing snakes and cleaning my house and getting ready, but I got down that rabbit hole for a long fucking time. Couldn't let it go, and I'm going to go back to it when I have 3 hours worth of reading to kill. But newspapers.com is worth paying 3 years worth of subscription to hang out on for a while. I don't know how much that's cost me over the last 3 years, but it was worth it today.
Yeah, that was pretty interesting because, like I said, I read through all the articles as I was going through, and it was the old Ballad was pretty interesting. So, I mean, that's a movie waiting to happen right there.
Fuck yeah. I particularly like the one where they arrested him. They had his picture, and it shocked me how much he looked like my grandfather.
Oh, really?
He's my grandfather's brother, but it really did shock me how much it looked like a younger version of my grandfather standing there in handcuffs. They were perp walking his ass.
Motherfucker he stayed in trouble though, didn't he?
Yeah. I think he was first arrested at like 14 years old for breaking and entering in a hardware store.
Bouncing.
He was, and if you read any of the articles, it was like he's a known convicted for this, and he was in jail when the murder happened. He's out on bond now. I'm knocked off a laundromat. Fuck, he was somebody, man.
Well, and then he had his Bonnie with him too. It seemed like that lady that traveled was in trouble with him.
Yep, and then murdered at 29. And I was talking to my dad this morning. There was definitely a point in my life where I thought 29 was old, but that seems like such a child to me now. You know, a 29-year-old dude losing his life for any stupid shit just seems like such a tragic loss of a young guy, you know, or whatever.
But from just the articles that I read and the stories that you and I have talked about, that was inevitable, though, right?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I think especially in the 60s. It's probably inevitable now. I mean, if you start out at 14 knocking off fucking
so this was your grandfather's brother, right? So at what age was your dad when
my dad told me this morning that he remembered, and this is just to be in a different time, when he was 7 and 8. So my dad was 18 when Billy Jack was killed. But he said he remembered being 7, 8, 9 years old and walking from his house to the convenience store and then to the county jail. And he said at that time it was like Andy Griffith. You could just walk in right to the jail cell and hand Billy Jack cigarettes. And my dad said, I always liked him. So when I was a kid, I took him cigarettes in jail all the time.
Which is the funniest part about that is the fact, because I remembered this. My mom smoked whenever I was younger.
Yep.
And she would, we had like a little convenience store 3 or 4 blocks away from where we lived. And she was like, why don't you go get me a pack of cigarettes? Here's $2 or $2.50 or whatever the hell it cost at that point. And being able to go in there at 13, 14 years old and buy a pack of cigarettes.
Yep. Fuck, man.
So that's what he was doing. He was going and buying old Billy Jack his cigarettes.
7, 8 years old, go buying cigarettes. Because Dad, when he was at that age, they lived right in the middle of town. The Carter County Courthouse was right in the middle of town. That's where the jail was. I spent a night in there myself one time. That's a whole other story. But anyway, the Carter County Jail was just like Andy Griffith. I mean, you walk in the front door.
Especially at that time, right?
Well, even when I spent the night there, that's the way it was. They closed it down, I think, probably when I was in my mid-20s. They closed it down and built a nice new regional jail or whatever in Carter County. But it was just, you walk in the fucking courthouse or in the jailer's office, and there's a fucking cell there. You walk right up, hand anything through the bars. Not to be off on a side tangent here, but this is another just too good a story not to tell. If I haven't already told it, did I tell you the story about the hat with the bullet hole?
No.
I now own probably the coolest fucking thing I'm ever going to own, I think. So, let's just say buddy mine came across this hat with a bullet hole. It's got right on the top of the hat, it has a Freemason's pin. 2 inches down and over a little bit, there's a bullet hole in the hat. Well, the hat came with all the paperwork and the sworn affidavits and the story and all that bullshit. Basically, 2 guys sitting at a kitchen table talking, and one of them's wearing the hat, and he's telling the other one, said, your daddy's the best shot I know. I bet he could probably shoot that button off the top of my hat. And the boy said, bet. He grabbed the hat off the top of his head, put it on his hat, put it on his head, hollered in the kitchen, said, "Hey, Daddy, shoot this pin off the top of my hat." Dad said, "Well, okay." Pulled a gun off his hip. Boom. Killed him deader than hell.
Oh, my God.
I got the fucking sworn statements from the guy, and they asked him, they said, "Why would you do that?" And he said, "We do this kind of thing all the time. I shoot bottles out of his hands. He shot bottles out of my hands."
How far back was he? I mean, how did he miss?
He was 7 feet away, is what the witness said. I mean, if you're a good shot, it's almost hard to believe that from 7 feet away, that's basically where we're at right now. From 7 feet away, you can miss somebody like that. But I guess also you think this pin is at the point of the hat. You think it's not going to get your head. But I think even if he'd have hit the pin, it would have scalped his ass. But he was 2 inches low, so he hit him, boom, just right in the fucking top of the head. Killed him deader than shit. And so that found its way into, in the evidence box and all, found its way into my possession this week. And I'm supposed to be getting a box of, oh God, you don't have any family members tragically killed in the Greenup County in the last 20 years, do you? Anyway, I'm supposed to be getting a huge box full of crime scene photos from Greenup County Coroner's office.
Oh, my gosh.
So, anyway, shit like that just seems to float around me somehow or another. I don't know how, and I don't even know if I should be talking about this on here, but it's all way old shit. It's all, hugely old. And I guess in Kentucky, archives keep 20 years worth, and then after 20 years, they're supposed to dispose of it or whatever. And, it gets thrown in a dumpster, and I know a lot of guys that fish in dumpsters. And
know when that's going to happen.
And know when that's going to happen, and find cool shit like that. But the hat, it's a Stetson hat, too, is super cool. So it's a nice, expensive fucking cowboy hat, as well as it has a goddamn bullet hole and probably some brain matter inside of it.
That's insane.
Anyway, so that's on my list of cool, spooky, definitely not haunted things that I own. So
now, will that be something that goes to the horror?
No, I'm going to hold on to it, I think.
Though, because that would be an interesting to have at the horror.
Yeah. Well, I could probably put it in a box and say it was haunted and get real money out of it. But it's one of those things. I don't know. I like a lot of things because they're valuable, but I also just love shit that has a cool fucking story.
Yeah.
That thing's worth way more to me just in having the cool story.
Yeah, to be able to talk
than it would ever be worth, even if you could say it was haunted. I don't know. It's just a cool conversation piece and something neat. You know me. I love having cool shit.
Yep, the weird shit.
Weird shit. Okay, so let's move on past this. You said something earlier. I don't even remember exactly what you said. But anyway, it triggered a question in my head. Concerning your job, like you're a realtor, what would you say is the biggest perk of that job and the biggest drag of that job?
I would say...
And I got one that I'm going to tell you when you're done.
One of the biggest perks, hands down, is the reason I do it, which is the cool factor of getting to help people realize a dream.
Yeah.
And not everybody takes that as serious. You know, sometimes people are just buying a house and yeah, that's a dream, but it's just like, this is part of the next thing I got to do. You know, it's not life changing.
Yeah.
Some people, this is a whole new path for me. And I work with a lot of first time home buyers as well. The gentleman today, getting to hear his story, and God, we ended up getting into his grandparents and taking care of his parents. I mean, we covered a lot of ground. That's going to be a very satisfying deal whenever we get to closing, because he made it clear to me how important this was to have this done as quickly as possible. Yeah. I'm going to make it happen. One way or another, we're going to get done what he needs done. And that's probably the biggest perk, is getting to be able to impact people in that way. Downside is, and luckily I'm getting to the point where I don't have to deal with it as much. Part of the downside is whenever people just are very rude with their expectations and want to get demeaning about, you're going to do this and you're going to do that. And I'm like, no, I'm going to do my job and try to help you. But whenever you start being a turd, I don't need that. Yeah. I had somebody that probably about a couple weeks ago, they were like, you just need to do your job. You're getting paid. And I'm like, have you paid me anything to this point? There was a lot of that led up before I said anything. And I'm like, well, what have you paid me? Well, you're going to get paid when we close. And I'm like, well, I'm not going to get paid when we close on this one, because I'm not going to work with somebody that's going to talk to me like that. So he was like, well, you don't have a choice. And I was like, well, I do have a choice. I said, you're asking me to schedule another appointment. Are we going? And he was like, well, yeah, as soon as you schedule that blah, 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 blah thing. And I'm like, I ain't scheduling it. Yeah. And that doesn't happen very often, but I mean, that's a downside whenever someone does that. Other than that, I mean, some of the challenges is just having to help people understand expectations. Everybody wants champagne, but do you have the budget for champagne? Or do you have Miller Lite, Keystone? So we can do what we can do. So I mean, even for people that once you explain that to and they understand it and they see it for themselves, that's still frustrating to me to some degree, because there is that true disappointment. It's like, I hate that, but here's the reality of what that's going to get. So you hate to disappoint people. That I don't care to disappoint somebody that's being a turd. But if someone's like, realistically, I just didn't realize it, and then you have to help them realize something that kind of alters what they're going to do moving forward, that is probably another downside. But other than that, and then just lack of knowledge sometimes of people not knowing how to do their job, and you having to battle through. You're saying
dealing with other realtors.
And it's a very small population.
Inferior, not worth your time.
No. It's there's lots of better, there's better realtors than me out there. But whenever somebody's not just doing the basics of their job, like answering the phone for, if you have a listing.
You just got it. I just wrote down.
Answering the phone.
I wrote down answering the phone. And it's because if my phone rings, let's say it rings 25 times a day, I don't answer it 21 times. And that is a perk of my job, but it's the downside of your job.
I got to answer them all.
Yeah, I know. I can't imagine. Spam. Yeah, I can't imagine having to know I have to answer the phone.
The other side of that too is that we're also, and I'm sure as an owner of a business, you get this too, but in real estate, we are seen as one of the biggest opportunities for listing or for leads. Like, I can produce you leads, or let me show you this other business opportunity, or let me do this or do that. So there's so many realtors are always looking for opportunities to make their business better, or new tools or new things. So we're getting that hit as well. A lot of the calls aren't even clients. Yeah. They're somebody trying to sell me something.
Yeah.
But I still got to answer it.
I know. I've spent the last, I guess, 6 or 7, since about 2019, I've spent the last 6 years or so structuring my life. So as Katrina is 99% responsible for the phone calls and the day-to-day operations of the business or whatever. So mostly if somebody calls me and it's business related, they're just not up to speed. So it's not ongoing business, or she would already be handling it. It's somebody maybe that wants to sell me something or whatever. And I don't publicize my own personal phone number so 9 out of 10 calls I get anymore are just fucking bullshit spam calls, or somebody that has my number from 10 years ago that wants to pitch me some fucked up celebrity or something,
Yeah.
So I have the luxury of not answering the phone a lot. And it makes me an asshole kind of, because I don't do it on purpose, but I end up hitting the fuck off button a lot, or I leave my phone on silent 100% of the time, because I don't know if it's just my particular brand of tism or what, but like it physically makes me mad to hear my phone ring.
My phone has never leaves silent.
Okay.
It's on vibrate at all times.
Okay.
I have the same reaction. If I hear a phone ring,
it makes me, dude, I'm
a quarter through, I'm like, oh my
mad.
God, answer it.
Yeah.
Silence, stop it.
Yeah. I am violently mad. Even text alerts. I don't get text alerts either, because like.
Talking about an irrational emotion, but I know exactly what you're saying.
Yeah.
It is irate.
Yeah. Anyway. All right. Anything else? Anything else we need to touch on?
Nothing that we need to touch on, but the one thing I'm curious, and I didn't know if you went through, it keeps referencing Lover's Lane.
Oh,
where's
I know exactly,
Lover's Lane
I know
at?
exactly where that's at. It's at the water tower on Skyline Drive.
That's what they call Lover's Lane?
Yeah, that's what was Lover's Lane back in the day. If you go up Skyline Drive and get to the top of the hill, when you get to the top of the hill, if you're like coming from the JJ side, nobody will know where this is. But if you're coming from the JJ side,
right where
top
the
of the hill,
is.
there's a gravel road that goes up there. I'm pretty sure that's where they called Lover's Lane. And fun fact, I think that's also, do you know the story about the woman that was kidnapped from, it was Woolco when we were a kid. There was a woman that was kidnapped from there and taken up there, and I think pretty violently killed up there. That was a little, I think that was after Billy Jack was dead, so I don't think he did anything with that. But I think even my dad confused the two stories a little bit today, because he was talking about the woman that Billy Jack confessed to killing, and he said her husband was owned a Nissan dealership, and that was the other fucking woman that was killed on Skyline Drive. Yeah. So even I think lots of people would probably confuse those two stories. I need to use newspapers.com and track down who the fuck killed all these people. I need to know all this story. Oh well, it'll give me something to do later.
I love it. I can't wait to hear the results.
Yeah, we'll find out. We'll start an internet rabbit hole of.
We'll have a newspaper.com episode.
Yeah, they owe us some sponsorship money now. Yes. I think. Yeah. This episode brought to you by newspaper.com, who's going to refund me for 3 years worth of fucking subscriptions now. All right, good enough. We're out.
And just like that, another episode of Two Guys, Two Questions is in the books.
We laughed, we learned. Well, we mostly just laughed.
Yeah, and if you made it this far, congratulations. You now have random knowledge you never asked for.
You're welcome.
Don't forget to follow, subscribe, and leave a 5-star review. Or don't, but just know if you don't, we're bringing back the squeaky toys.
Oh, it's coming back either way.
Well, until next time, same two guys, two questions, and absolutely no idea what we're doing.
Perfect.